Welcome to the Mechanical Room. A Centrotherm production focusing on all things in and around the HVAC industry. And now, your hosts, Michael Sokaris and Matthew Pryce.
Episode of the Mechanical Room. Matthew, if my memory serves me right, we are on number 8. So how you doing, and what do we have on the agenda for today?
Yeah, it is episode 8. We have stuck to our goal thus far. Let's cross our fingers that we can keep to it with quality guests. But this is the August episode of the Mechanical Room, and it is a sweltering, humid day out there, and so much so that the flies are coming inside to the air conditioning apparently. And yeah, I mean, we have a really interesting show today, in as much as we are going to give the special prize away to well, I guess, you know, the cat's out of the bag because it's all written on the descriptions of the episode. Colin Sadler of John Sadler Plumbing and Heating will be our Show Us Your Pipe winner for a very special Navian install that we're going to talk about in the next segment. Then we're going to welcome Colin in as our guest for the episode, and he's going to go at great lengths into, you know, his upbringing in the business. Sadler Plumbing is a family-owned affair for, you know, longer than I've been around. You know, so maybe 4 or 5 decades or something like that. You know, a mainstay in the HVAC world in British Columbia, and he'll be our guest after receiving the prestigious August award for Show Us Your Pipe. So you know what? Let's get right to it. Welcome back to the August edition of Show Us Your Pipe. And the cat's out of the bag already, as we are bestowing this great honor upon Sadler Plumbing and Heating. Michael, tell us about these beautiful installations.
Yes, I'm sure you'll be throwing up the pictures onto the screen. And it's interesting, it's an all Sadler show today. He is also our guest, as you said, the cat's out of the bag. But he's done a super job, really tightly installed, well executed, you know, installation. His piping is really neatly done. And of course, given it's the Show Us Your Pipe section of the show, he is very beautifully vented with Centrotherm, Influ product. Again, just no diamond plate this time, but a well done job.
Yeah, I mean, diamond plate is for a time and a place sometimes, and this is just a straight up, you know, professional installation. I'm going to zoom in right here and show you the stickers that he's put on there too. So he's got his own Sadler branding on these Navian units, which I absolutely love. That's another thing that the progressive contractors are doing these days. You know, we're going to talk about Impetus. I have a feeling another BC contractor who spray paints gold. You know, it's one of our favorite you know, elements of what goes on in the Mechanical Room here. And you know, the Sadler stickers really do offset those Navian units really nicely. Also, you know, provide contact information and other stuff for, you know, should there be a servicing, and, you know, when the time comes, they'll be the ones that get called back to the job. So it's marketing and branding. It's all very well done. And of course, who wouldn't want to put their name on installations that look like this? Everything is so crisp in these installations. It's just a real impressive job. Everything is neatly measured. There's no waste. There's no mess. It's just, you know, clean and tidy, and exactly the kind of thing you'd want to see if you walk down to a Mechanical Room to do servicing or anything like that. There's no mysteries here. Everything is right there as it should be. And I think that's probably something that comes with experience, right? So we're going to get into the interview with Colin in a second here, and, you know, just to give a little bit of background on the company. Family owned for, you know, 2,000 years or something like that, you know, for forever, right? You know, him and his dad, well, his dad started it several decades ago at this point, and that is the experience that they boast now, and it clearly shows through. And that is why August goes to John Sadler Plumbing. Congratulations, you have shown us your pipe, or in this case, a couple of pipes. Great job, guys. We'll be right back with Colin Sadler. Welcome back to the Mechanical Room. And today we have a special guest, the winner of this month's Show Us Your Pipe segment. We're bringing Colin Sadler, a supremely talented plumber out of British Columbia, and the president and owner operator, the brains and the big cheese behind John Sadler Plumbing, which has an esteemed lineage in the British Columbia area. We'll talk about a little bit of that as a family business as well. Colin grew up in the industry. He was working his summer holidays and threading pipe on a rigid 300, whatever the heck that is, at age 14. I would love to hear more about that. You worked your summers. You got your apprenticeship done by the time you were 21. You graduated from the BCIT, British Columbia Institute of Technology. Then you joined John Sadler Plumbing, where you worked along your father for many, many years until you and your wife took over operations for John Sadler Plumbing. And so now for the last 16 years, you've been the owner, working primarily in the residential section, doing system installations and everything in and around the mechanical room, installing Inaflu products, which is how we are aware of you, and we thank you very much for that. Your biography that you sent me is very thorough, with some interesting introspective stuff about how you never thought you'd join the HVAC industry. And I'm right there with you, because I never thought I would find myself there either. So I would love to talk to you a little bit about that. He's a golfer, he's a hiker, he's a comedian, and he's a good installer and also a social media maven, posting his great installations and winning our contests. We welcome in Colin Sadler of John Sadler Plumbing. Mike Sokaris, please welcome our guest.
Well, first and foremost, Colin, thank you for joining us and spending some time on our show here. A good intro by Mr. Pryce. I guess the first question I have, there's a lot of questions that come out of that. But the first one was, you didn't expect to be doing this, but you are. So yeah. What was the process and what was the trigger to get you to be in the industry?
Well, when I saw my dad working when I was younger, always working, literally always working, I saw that and I thought, oh, I don't want to do that when I'm older. That's too much for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to Kwantlen College. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be white collar. That's what I'm going to do. So went to Kwantlen College, which is another little college here. I took some business classes. So half of semester, I got through it. I'm like, oh, this is not for me. This is boring. I'm just sitting around. So I dropped out of that and I went back to my dad and said, can I come back and work for you? And he said, yeah, you might as well sign up as an apprentice while you're doing it, So I said, okay, let's just do that. And years went on, and next thing I know, I'm doing my first year of school, second, third, fourth, now I'm certified. I'm going from doing jobs like digging ditches and drilling through concrete and crawling around in crawl spaces to, now I'm fixing things like furnaces and boilers, and it's becoming more interesting, and I'm just learned to love it and grew into it. So I'm really lucky that it worked out that way, that I love my job. It's not going to work to me. So
that's I mean, you love to hear that, right? Obviously, if it's not work to you and you really are enjoying it, obviously you're helping people. You're in BC, it's cold, so if you're heating their house, they find some value in that, let's say. So it's a family business. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of John Sadler Plumbing. Who is John Sadler? What is he up to these days? I know a little bit about it, which we've discussed, but please tell our viewers a little bit about the history of John Sadler Plumbing and the company and the man.
Yeah, so my dad comes from England. He was born in England. My whole family is born in England. I am the firstborn Canadian, so in the family. So my dad, again, just, he didn't really do much schooling in England, a little bit. He started plumbing at a very young age. I think it was about 15 or so. He just started doing plumbing. He went into, the plumbing industry because back then you could do that. I think he became a foreman at a very young age. And in the 70s, he moved to Canada. that there was more opportunity. So he's either going to move to Canada or move to Australia. And he chose Canada, and there's less things that can kill you here, so that's good. Snakes and spiders and things.
Yeah, but
So,
you got
but
bears, polar bears, don't you, up there?
they're far away from here.
Okay.
No problem.
You
Yeah,
do hear about those vicious kangaroos on the outback attacking all of those HVAC techs. You know, it's more common than we want to know.
Yeah. So yeah, he came here. He started up a company right away, and he just got to it. And he took the biggest ad he could in the yellow pages and just kind of hired a couple of guys, and John Sadler Plumbing and Heating was born.
That's amazing. So adding the yellow pages dovetails really nicely to my next question. So one thing that you mentioned is, the work ethic of your father, and that is transferred into you, right? And that you guys are just, you value the hard work, and you always want to be doing something, keeping busy, etc. So, I mean, in this business, I mean, right now it's kind of an interesting time. Everybody's pretty busy, but there are, valleys, let's say. How one additional point to that is, in your biography, you mentioned that, like, when you took over the company, you gave it a proper logo and whatnot.
Yeah.
You gave it some branding. Obviously, you're working hard on Instagram to do all of that stuff, raise your notoriety and whatnot. So how was your dad getting clients to keep super busy back in the day? And how have you evolved that to maintain the level of busyness that you seem to have these days?
Yeah. Well, back then, the yellow pages was the only thing that existed. So if you had a big ad in the yellow pages and you're on the front page, you're going to get a lot of phone calls. As time goes on and we're seeing more online, we're actually reducing our book ads to almost nothing. And now we have a company that takes care of our SEO and our Google AdWords, and they're doing an amazing job. I don't know if you want me to give them a shout out, but their company is called Think Profits, so they're doing really well for us.
Is that a CA based tech company?
I'm not sure. What do you mean by CA based?
Canada, CA.
Oh
Canada.
yeah, they're from Vancouver. Yeah, so they're doing a really good job for us. So that's really helping our organic, our website popping up organically. But we get a lot of word of mouth. We get a lot of referrals, and that's just simply from just taking the time to do a good job for people. Don't rush, honor warranties, and just treat people with respect and treat people well. And that's how we're staying busy. So there's a number of kind of offshoots that kind of keep us going. We don't really have too many downtimes throughout the year because of that. So yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your team and your business. How many folks is it you? Do you have a team of people? How many trucks are on the road?
Yeah. So I have an amazing team of plumber gas fitters. So we got 4 guys. 2 of them have been with us for over 10 years now. Amazing guys. I'm really lucky, really blessed to have them working with us. And then my wife Tina is the co-owner. And then we have an amazing office manager named Leah, and she takes care of phone calls coming in and bookings and things like that.
So if you have your team inside kind of managing the day-to-day paperwork, then you've got tools on, you're in the field doing work yourself, then it sounds like.
I'm kind of all over the map. So right now I'm trying to focus on the boiler installs. Sometimes I do a little bit of warranty work when it pops up, or little service jobs. I kind of like the Swiss Army knife. I just kind of go and do what I have to do. Doing lots of estimating right now. This summer led to a lot of air conditioning estimates up here because we had the big heat dome. So we had temperatures here that we have never seen before. So everyone was phoning about air conditioning. So that was a big thing.
Interesting. All right. So you mentioned, in your biography, so I didn't read it. He wrote me like a full essay of stuff. So I kind of just picked and chose little bits here to say, but of course using them as question prompts here. So you wrote, what I love about the industry, there's always something new to learn, no matter how much you know.
Yes.
What was like the craziest or most interesting topic that you had that took you a while to grasp? Where was the biggest learning curve for you, having done this now for, I guess you're approaching your 3rd decade of this?
Yeah. For me, the biggest thing I would say that took me the longest to grasp was the wiring, like low voltage 24 volt control wiring and things like that. That took me some time to figure out. Like, I just couldn't get my head wrapped around it for a while. And I don't know if it was just the way, my dad was explaining things to me over time, or it just took me a while to get in there. And really, once I got in there and I just forced myself to go through it, like step by step, on a few jobs here, that's when I really grasped it. I just had to put my mind to it and just kind of go for it. So wiring was a big thing. And I think air conditioning now is the next thing for that. We're trying to learn air conditioning in-house a little bit. So
Is it because it's becoming a bit, with things heating up in Canada, is it becoming more prevalent and you're
very
playing
much
catch up?
so. Yeah, very much so. And it's really hard there's not a lot of refrigeration techs out there that we find. So it's really hard to hire someone that just does refrigeration because they might not stay busy all year round. So if you're a company like us and if you wanted to hire a refrigeration guy, they need to be able to do other things too to keep busy throughout the year, like maybe a bit of boiler work or some, just furnace repair or, maybe some other things like that. So I think we like to call a technician like that a unicorn because there's just not very many of them around.
So are you working to actively cross-train your guys? Is that something that you try to do to make sure that they have the widest of skill sets for that type of unicorn? Are you molding unicorns, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, trying to. So 2 of my guys are very keen to learn and they're ahead of me. They're out there and we bought the tools we need. So we're starting the process slowly. So we're starting with, okay, let's do the line set ourselves. Let's braze it ourselves. Let's test it ourselves and things like that. So step by step, we're working into learning it, just so we're not rushing it. And then we have a couple companies that we will bring in to do the startups just to make sure it's done properly. And, the client will have a good end result. Yeah.
So in talking to one of our regionals who lives in Calgary, he was saying the same thing. They have 100-degree temperatures this year, which they had never encountered before. And he said he just built a house not long ago. And he's like, I have a new house and I don't have air conditioning. Now I got to figure out, how do I get air conditioning put in?
Yeah.
What approach is your company, you and your techs taking? Are you retrofitting? Are you putting in mini splits? What is it that you're doing to air people's homes?
There's a lot of retrofitting happening. We don't do new construction, and that's for a number of reasons. That's a long story, but not that long. But anyway, mostly retrofits. Ductless is getting more popular too, so it's starting to grow slowly as we go. So I think we're actually doing a ductless install tomorrow for a customer. But lots of retrofits, adding air conditioning into existing furnaces, some that we've already replaced, and some that we're replacing whole systems. So a furnace, heat pump, and coil and so forth, new thermostat.
So you mentioned that you're primarily residential retrofit, right?
Yeah.
So that's a slice of the construction pie or the mechanical room pie out there. That's certainly a big part of it. Are you actively staying away from commercial jobs? What's the barrier to entry there for that? And is it something you prefer? You're just so busy with retrofits, you don't even, you're not quite there yet, or you don't need it.
Yeah. So we do a little bit of light commercial. We do like 4-story apartment buildings, 4 or 5 stories, that kind of thing. But lots of residential. We just prefer it. We just like the environment to work in residential. We do service, repair, installations, retrofit for plumbing, heating, gas fitting systems. Is what we're after. Yeah.
How much of that stuff are you picking up right at the wholesale counter? Are you filling up a van every day with all the various stuff you need? How much stuff are you stocking? Is it a mix? Where you get your supplies from, essentially?
Yeah.
And if you have any wholesalers you like, shout them out, call them out, tell your
yeah.
There's
a few.
Certainly speak freely. Certainly speak freely. Yeah. So if you want to throw somebody under the bus, here's the time, right? I'll make sure to tag them when I post this on on Facebook.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. So we have a home office, so we do have a little bit of storage space, but we don't bulk buy equipment and store it away. So what we do is we've got our vans. We kind of see what's happening that day, and we put big orders into the suppliers as needed. Sometimes they'll ship to us on our job site to save time, and so forth. But our suppliers, Emco, is a big one for us. Andrew Sherritt's. Refrigerative supply has now really come along for us because we're using a lot of the furnace and air conditioning products from there. So those are the three, I would say, biggest ones that we typically use. Yeah,
What
and
is
they've all been pretty good.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your thought there.
Oh, they've all been pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of challenges right now because a lot of these places are understaffed. They can't hire people because the people aren't working as much right now. So,
we have
you
the
know, there's
same
some challenges
issue here.
there, but I think they're all doing their best. Yeah.
What is something that is changing in your field that you wish distributors would respond to in better service? Is there a growing need somewhere that they're not jumping on? Kind of a heads up to them maybe to do some stuff?
That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure on that. I would say a bit more support with training for actual installations for refrigeration.
Okay. Oh, because
Yeah.
that's a sort of an emerging market in your
Yeah,
neck of the woods.
it's a really, really big market coming in slowly, and it's only going to grow. So that's one area I think that is a bit lacking, but I think,
So
yeah,
yeah, so at Centrotherm, one of our biggest things is training. You know, obviously,
nice.
it is a life safety product that we sell. We do not want anyone to, you know, have an accident due to faulty installation. So we're very, very big on it. What's the key to getting contractors to attend these events?
Yeah. How do we help you?
Yeah.
That's threading the needle. You know, if it's in the
Yeah.
air conditioning season, you're busy air conditioning. If it's in the heating season, you're getting ready for the heating season. How do we serve that better for you? That's a great question.
That's a really good question, and I think the best way to do it would be an online approach, like you know, and keeping it shorter, maybe 1 or 2 hour sessions, even if it's multiple sessions needed. I think that will help to get more people, and then maybe have if you need to test them on it, maybe have a multiple choice or you know something like that at the end of the course. But people that are working in the industry right now, they don't have a lot of time. Like we seem to be working, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12-hour days is pretty common. And you know, our industry is somewhat recession proof, and now we found out we're pandemic proof too, really.
Very true.
Certainly, essential business. Clearly, I mean, it gets cold
Yeah.
and you know, it gets cold in BC. You will have an issue if you know the old folks home doesn't have heat. You know, yada
Yeah.
yada yada. I mean, that's certainly a thing that we experienced as well as a heating company. You know, and
Totally.
obviously the reverse is true too. Obviously, with global warming or whatever, people need to be, you know, you need to have AC systems in place for you know hospitals, hotels, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So. What's your dad up to these days? I know he started the business, you know, years ago. As you mentioned, he's semi-retired. What does semi-retired look like?
Yeah, my dad's one of those people that loves to work, and his life is work, I think. And so he has his own company on the Sunshine Coast, and you know he has himself, pretty much just himself, but he's got a couple other family members that are working with him, you know, doing apprenticeships and things. So he's been doing work up until this summer, pretty much, I would say almost full time. And he takes anything on. He's got his A ticket for gas, so you know, which is the industrial gas ticket. You can basically work on anything to do with gas, so huge boilers, burners, that kind of thing. He's done some plumbing up there, little things. There's lots of oil furnaces on the Sunshine Coast, so he does that kind of stuff. But this summer, he said he's gonna take the summer off and evaluate and see where he's at. But I think he's just going to do probably some small repairs and just little service jobs to keep himself busy here and there, I would bet, moving forward.
Keeps the Sadler name out and on the tips of the tongues of all of the people who need these systems installed. And
Yeah.
similarly, so just like a 70-plus-year-old man, keeping the branding alive, you're doing a lot of stuff on social media. Can you just talk a little bit about how you use it, why you use it, and you know, what do you think it does for John Sadler Plumbing to be on
Yeah.
Instagram and LinkedIn and the Navian group and the other places I see you popping up all over the internet?
Can I
Yeah.
can
So,
I thread another question in that?
of course. Yeah.
Do you use the different social media platforms differently? Do you see that some of them do things better? You know, there's a lot of buzz right now about, you know, hey, Facebook should be used for this piece and Instagram for this. And,
Yeah.
you know, do you see there a difference in how you're using it on top of Matthew's questions?
Yeah. These are good questions. So I really have to thank one of my techs for getting me into Instagram, because he's the one that kind of spearheaded it. And we have a very team-based environment at our company. So our guys all have input. I don't think of myself as an employer and employees. We're just all a team. So, it's important to listen to your guys, because I learn a lot from them as well, right? So that's super crucial. So I got onto Instagram. I started it more as a photo album for showing clients what we do, and to help to sell jobs, especially boiler installations, because this is such a you can have a big difference between one boiler install and another boiler install. So that's my primary usage. It helps with branding as well, get us out there. And then that can link. We have it set up so that on our website, you go to our portfolio page and it links right to our work Instagram. So you can keep bringing photos up, and so clients can see that. I think it builds confidence with the client as well, which is most important, because they can see how much work we've done, multiple systems, whether it's a furnace or boilers or what have you. So Facebook, that's another one. I'm not on Facebook as much. I do post to Facebook through Instagram, but Instagram is probably my favorite, just because it's so easy to use. That's what I like about it. Facebook, I find their business page is a little bit more difficult to go through. LinkedIn, same kind of thing. I don't really use a lot of LinkedIn, just because takes a bit more time, and I just don't have the time to kind of go through all of them. Our SEO company, they do post to social media for us, so it goes to Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and that's really helpful too.
So did they take what you have posted on Instagram and replicate it or carry it over to the other platforms?
They'll do their own posts. Like they've got more, and it's more kind of almost more advertising or informative posts, where I'm posting mostly pictures and things like that of work that we've done.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the contractor photo album is certainly very widely utilized, because it is so easy to just go, these are all my amazing installations. Your house will kind of look like this kind of thing. Perfect, and very, very convenient. So it's funny how it then takes off, and now you've got approaching 2,000 followers. I'm assuming that all of those people, you personally put a Navian on their wall. So it certainly goes beyond, just the clientele into a branding type of thing. Who do you look to for inspiration in that? Who are some content creators in the industry that you enjoy their stuff, and what are they doing that you like?
There's a lot. There would be a lot to list. Actually, I do have a local group that that has been created. Terrence from Impetus, I think, kind of was the impetus to create it. And we've got about
as he 20, is. The impetus
20,
behind a lot of things.
23, 24, 25 people in this group. These guys are all amazing. They do amazing work. So, I'll see things that they do, and I'll say, hey, do you mind if I borrow that kind of thing? Like one of the guys, Jared Reed, he started painting his gas line on his boiler installs. So I thought, wow, that's a nice touch, right? Things like that. So we all share information and help each other out, and it's an amazing community, and it's slowly growing. So I see guys like that, and kind of the work that they do. There's a lot of other guys out there as well that I see. I mean, some are in Europe. Some of the pipe work that I see, I don't know if I can remember all of the names off the top of my head to go through, because there's so many. But some of the pipe work I'm seeing in like France, the way they're bending pipes on boilers, it's pretty incredible.
It's pretty nuts to watch the industry evolve like that, right?
Yeah.
So some of the people that we become aware of as a manufacturer are folks like yourself, who then put, kind of give a shout out to all the different manufacturers that kind of come together in the mechanical room to make that installation. And as such, we become aware of Navian champion of the universe, Eric Silva, and and Terrence, of course, is always doing stuff in BC, and Mechanical Hub, all of them. It's crazy to watch the evolution of this, because it really, I mean, I'm sort of new to this industry like you. I never thought I would work in HVAC. I have a much more social media background type of thing, and when I first started in 2015, 2016, it wasn't nearly as prominent, but it's certainly like a hockey stick of like
It's
Now the
really
content
growing.
is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And now you've got folks that you would never expect to have a TikTok dancing
Yeah.
at the job site or
Yeah.
doing God only knows what. And it's actually kind of funny because it is a lot of times it's folks like you who are doing stuff that they really enjoy and producing that content, and it really kind of
Yeah.
radiates through. And I personally like your the selfie series of you with the B-vent cap on the roof.
Oh yeah.
So you're always up there posing, and it's like over the course of the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and it's a real beautiful sight. I will, for those of us watching on YouTube here, you're seeing it now, but I encourage everybody to look at our our Instagram pages as well, as I'll share some of these photos as well. So I mean, you do a great job with the content yourself. So
Thank you.
we can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, an interesting thing here, Matthew, is Colin mentioned impetus.
Yeah.
And as we've been doing some of these podcasts, we said the first one we wanted to start off with a contractor. And obviously, Impetus does a lot of Centrotherm work, and we had reached out to him before. And as we were thinking of, who do we bring on, our first contractor episode, we had Terrence on. And recently, when we were talking, we said, hey, it's time to do another contractor. And you had posted, Colin, some really nice pics not long ago. And then now in this episode, we're referencing someone that was in our first episode, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they must be growing something, or something's in the water up in BC, because there's another guy who I'm a big fan of too, HVAC Strong.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
Ben. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Ben
Ben.
Thompson.
Yeah.
I mean, another guy who, I mean, obviously he's like physically strong, but he's also an incredibly strong poster as well.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his Good Morning Family of Instagram.
Yeah.
He does that like every morning in the van. It becomes a ritual. It's kind of funny to think that, I mean, John Sadler himself in 1986, do you think he envisioned somebody chatting into their phone in the van,
No.
discussing what we're doing today? We're going to run this duct work, and we're going to bring, all these wonderful heating systems to the clientele, yada, yada. It's funny to watch that. I mean, here we are on an HVAC
Yeah.
podcast, right? So, I mean, it's interesting, and that's kind of what the whole point of this is, right? So,
Mhm.
and to that end, it's not about us; it's about the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
who are some other brands that I mean, we know that we're very thankful that you are fond of the Inaflu product. Obviously, the easiest and most lightweight, special gas vent available. Period. But who are some other manufacturers that you're pretty loyal to? You like their stuff. What's
Yeah.
typically going in your mechanical room because it's
Yeah.
easy to use and you like it?
Yeah. So for me, it comes down to support from the products. That's kind of where we're directing our choices now, because some products that we've used in the past, the support just dropped off, and when you need help and the client needs help, there's no help to be found. So we can't have that. So Navion is probably a big one for us, because we love Navion. We love the boilers, water heaters, combis, and just amazing support. So that's one that we love. Furnace wise, so for forced air, we use Aries, which is owned by Allied, which is owned by Lennox, and we use Rheem. So those are our two furnace companies that we kind of primarily stick with. Now we're seeing another kind of product, which is a hydronic air handler called an iFlow. So which is represented by Pro West Sales in Coquitlam, Burnaby. So that's another new product that works with a Navion. So that's providing your hot water for your hydronic side, which is pretty cool. So those are some that we like. And then there's a company called Calefactio,
Sure.
which is a Canadian company.
Yeah.
So we use a lot of their boiler trim, like their air vents, and the little flanges with the shutoffs for the pumps, which is really handy. We really like their expansion tank bracket that hangs off the wall, keeps everything neat and tidy and serviceable. So that's some of the equipment that we really like.
If support is the big thing for you, I'm assuming that means kind of just across the board, right? So sales
Yeah.
support, technical support,
Yeah.
customer service, that type of thing. Tell us a hero story. Tell us an emergency where somebody swooped in with some miraculous stuff and sort of saved the day for you.
Yeah, actually, I have one from Navion. I was doing a Navion heat exchanger replacement, And at the very top, one of the first things that you have to take apart is there's a little collar that goes on top where the blower is that blows into the heat exchanger. And the screw broke off, and it was toast basically. Like you can try and drill it out and tap it, but it's aluminum. It was toast. So Pro West Sales stepped in and helped me out. And we were able to get a new heat exchanger in there. They didn't ding me for it, so that was and we were able to get the client back up and running, hot water back on right away. So that was probably one that saved my butt a little bit, I would say. Yeah, that's just off the top of my head, you know.
Service was a big thing on our conversation with Impetus as well. With you mentioned service, not only for manufacturers but distributors and those who do it really well. And he actually called out some that didn't do it as well. So
yeah,
the service piece is a recurring theme across the board.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, you got some other interests there if you want to mosey on away from the mechanical room for a minute here.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm guessing, you know, judging from what you said, you don't really have a tremendous amount of time to go hiking or golfing. Is that I mean, when was the last time you got to hit a few on the course?
At the moment, actually, this year I've made a point to try to get out more, and sometimes we're getting out with the group, the plumbing group too, quite often.
Amazing.
So that's been good. I played a couple weeks ago. I think I played about 15 rounds this year.
Wow. Okay. Good.
Yeah,
I played my first round ever the other day, and it was yeah.
I want the world to hear.
I am horrendous at golf. You know,
it takes time.
I wanted to challenge, you know, there's people out there hitting these. The winning team was 14 under.
Wow.
It was our reps in Western New York and the CEO and I in a foursome. And really only one of us was like a credible golfer. The other ones we were just like destroying and hacking the grass apart. And it was, I mean, it was a good time. And I can see why people enjoy golf, but man, that must take a lifetime to master. And I mean, if you're crawling around the mechanical room all the time, it's going to be hard to keep hitting those eagles and those birdies, you know. So, but it is great that you are making a point to get out there. I mean, obviously you need to do that to keep yourself sane. So,
especially with your team, that, you know, that team building element is, you know, it's something that we talk about at Centrotherm quite a bit is, you know, how do we keep the team engaged, you know, that camaraderie. So it's good that you take that time and spend it in a social manner with the people you work with every day. That's pretty cool.
It's important for sure.
It is. And I mean, it certainly engenders, you know, friendship and team obviously is, you know, the operative word here. And it seems like you're one of those guys who's in the trenches with the fellas, and that certainly, you know, bolsters it as well. Clearly you have the you know, the experience and the acumen to lead this team. But also you enjoy, you know, turning the wrench yourself a little bit too, which you don't always see.
I like to do things. Yeah.
You don't always see that. A lot of people are trying to rush away from that, and as soon as they can just start deploying the crews, that's what they get into. But it doesn't seem like that's your vibe. You want to be down there figuring it out yourself. So
yeah. Well, some of those boiler installs, you know, and fixing things, at least to tremendous job satisfaction for me. Right. So I feel really good at the end of the day about what we do and helping people and that kind of thing. So that's what I like about being on the tools. That's
a really good way to sort of close this. You mentioned at the top, you know, job satisfaction for the consumer, essentially, making sure that the person whose boiler you're fixing or whose air conditioner you're fixing is satisfied. You know, how do you go that extra mile to the homeowner? This is a conversation I ask because it's a conversation we have internally at Centrotherm all the time as well, because we want to, you know, market to all elements of the channel, right? So the end user to us is the contractors actually putting the pipes together, but the net benefit for that is for the person who's, you know, not breathing carbon monoxide at the end of the day, you know, and has a functioning heating system in their house. So what do you do to I don't want to say sell to the homeowner, that's not the right word, but give them the peace of mind, make them feel like they've been listened to, and, you know, and make sure that they when you leave, they feel as though they got good value for their job and they feel safe in the systems you've left behind.
Yeah, I think good communication from the first phone call in is very important. Taking down what they're looking for, you know, to have fixed or repaired or serviced. And then, we have a program called House Call Pro that we use. So all the notes go into there. The tech sees it on their phone. Okay, what are we doing here? So right from that point, we've got a good foot in the door. On site, good communication with the homeowner. We don't just get in there, okay, fix something, here's your bill, and it's like way more than they thought it would be, kind of thing. So we got to have good talk back and forth with the homeowner. Especially sometimes you're on a job and it escalates, and okay, we fix one thing, but we've got another issue. So communication is really important, but also neat and tidy is important too, right? If the homeowner, you could put in a boiler and it works great, but it looks sloppy, the homeowner may look at that and be like, well, what did I just pay for, kind of thing. So it's all about visual appearances in some cases, I think, in today's world.
But it looks professional.
Yeah. And that's why your stuff gets some likes on on Instagram, because when you see the way that copper pipe is all mazed together and everything is all put to the wall in a very sharp and tidy appearance, it does set it apart from the ones that we've seen where it's a rat's nest, the cables and everything is sort of cobbed around one another and whatnot. So I mean I would obviously prefer the nice looking one in my basement, of course, as anybody would. So.
And it doesn't take extra time to do it nice. It really doesn't. It's about the same amount of time. Yeah.
Shows the integrity of your craftsmanship. I mean, certainly it's the right way to do it, right? And that's what we all want to be about, is the proper way to do it, right? So, Mike, you have any closing thoughts here?
I got one more closing question, which was in the bio that can't go unasked. Did you say comedian?
No, I'm not a comedian. I just like to make people laugh.
Okay, I was gonna say, is there a side gig here? Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Are you a knock champion?
Right. Well, usually I'll just start talking to my son, like I'm talking to him about something serious, but it's actually a dad joke in the works. So and then he'll just be like, then he just rolls his eyes.
How old is your son?
He's 16.
16.
Okay.
And then I have a 12-year-old daughter.
So they're both in the dad kind of come on kind of phase of their life there.
Definitely. Yeah.
So emphasis on make people laugh when possible is what you wrote. So
when possible.
Got it.
Yeah. There might be some stone-faced impossible tasks, try to break up that 16-year-old when they're in a moody kind of thing. I'm a perpetual 16-year-old, so I know what that's like.
Comment on that if you want me to, but I'll pass. Maybe I'll pass.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Sadler, I can't thank you enough for your time and your dedication to making mechanical rooms sharp and tidy, and bringing that heat and that air conditioner to your clientele, who you value very clearly. And I think that respect becomes a mutual thing. We'll be catching up with you on Instagram, and we'll be seeing you down the line. Thank you so much for coming on the Mechanical Room.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it and the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming back. This brings us to the conclusion of episode number 8. Matthew, another orchestrated podcast. It was a real pleasure. I know you had talked to Colin, but it was a real pleasure meeting him personally. Certainly was aware of his work. Thank you, Colin, for joining us and sharing your wisdom and what's going on in your market. Hopefully, the people out there that are listening, Matthew, are kind of taking this in, learning new tricks and applying some of this wisdom in their own day-to-day. So with that said, why don't you kind of take us out?
Yeah, so I mean, please make sure you click the links here, because I'm gonna certainly add the Sadler Plumbing Instagram handle to all of the descriptions here on YouTube and Anchor and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to see professional installations, please peruse through his portfolio. That's what he said that was the impetus for him starting an Instagram, was to have a sort of a Rolodex, digital Rolodex, if you will, of professional installations to show his homeowners. And of course, we're seeing more and more contractors do it, and not always as effectively or as cleanly as Colin is doing it for Sadler Plumbing. So everybody be sure to click those links in there. Be sure to click subscribe to the Mechanical Room on YouTube and on Anchor and anywhere else that you feast upon the podcast material that you so ravenously crave. I know that you're out there hungering for this HVAC content, so we do aim to please, and that is why the Mechanical Room is available on all of those wonderful platforms. This has been another episode of the Mechanical Room. That was a lot of times I dropped the name there. You know, I'm marketing this podcast very aggressively. You know, Mechanical Room, Mechanical Room, Mechanical Room, Mechanical Room. That's us.
Dream of that at night at times, I'm sure you.
My wife shakes me. She's like, "What are you talking about? What a diamond plate?" Oh, you know. So it is. You know, it has a way of sort of ensconcing your whole life, right? I mean, in order to prepare for this, right? So I'm, you know, I'm cycling through Sadler's Instagram and finding, you know, interesting things to talk about. He sent me a like a Dostoevsky novel as a biography, which I thank him for, because it gives us a lot of questions to jump off from. So, but yeah, the Mechanical Room, it's been, you know, we're past the halfway point of the year. We have some big guests planned coming up here, and it's been a great ride, Mike.
It has. It's been fun. It's been enlightening. Something new that we're trying. We've had some good guests. And again, it's all about getting the word out on anything in and around the Mechanical Room, and just bringing light to a pretty cool, you know, industry, and some really cool things going on with what, you know, some things that people didn't do in the past, but the younger generation is encountering. So stay tuned for more wisdom and fun guests.